my Wolves status report, Doogie, for tonight's final preseason tilt at Dallas, and I call it up, and I expect to see a couple names of guys I don't know, and the first name I see is D'Angelo Russell not going to play. Is there anything that you can say? We haven't even played a regular season game yet. Is there anything that you can say to calm the fears of those who fear this is going to be a terrible Wolves season?
All right, I'll get to that in a second. It's a treat, by the way, Judd, that you can watch the Wolves. I know a lot of people who don't have access to the Wolves. Yes, Phil and Declan cannot watch the Wolves because of, and it's not the Wolves' fault, but it's hard to side with either side when we're talking about millionaires or billionaires bickering over, these rights and what the cost is and all that. So if you have Hulu, if you have YouTube TV, if you have Dish Network, the Dish Network
been going on for
goes
2
back,
years.
Yeah, like almost a year, if not longer than that. So it's super unfortunate. I will tell you this much, that the Wolves TV contract with Fox Sports North is up after the season. I don't know if that's out there, but that's a little nugget. Now, how that enters into the negotiations, that I don't know. Now, on the Wolves, to calm down people's fears, they do play Detroit on Wednesday, so I do think there's a decent chance they start 1-0. I think they can beat the Detroit Pistons, but then all of a sudden they play the Lakers and the Clippers and the Utah Jazz. So all of a sudden they could easily be 1-3 after 8 or 9 games. Are they 3-6, 2-8 after 10? I mean, I think looking at the schedule, that's a distinct possibility. I will say this much: I think they deserve more time. They are, I believe, statistically the youngest team in the league. They, if you look at it, have had as much turnover as any team in the league, that they do deserve a little bit of a leash. I know fans don't want to hear that after all the futility the last handful of years, going back heck, decades. But I do think they deserve some time, Judd, with this shortened training camp, without them being in the bubble, with only 2 preseason games. So let's give them a little bit of time. But yeah, I mean, like, the Wolves send out the email last night, D'Angelo Russell not playing tonight. And you're thinking, like, D'Angelo and Cat played exactly 1 game together last year. They need time together on the court. And all of a sudden, D'Angelo is out with right ankle soreness. Now, I'm told he'll be okay. This isn't anything that's serious. He'll play against Detroit next week. This is very, very, very precautionary. But still, nonetheless, I mean, 3rd preseason game, as you want D'Angelo to start building chemistry with Cat and maybe get some minutes with Rubio and Anthony Edwards and Malik Beasley. D'Angelo all of a sudden can't play. I don't know if I can calm the fears so much, Judd. I do think it's a realistic possibility for them to capture the 10 seed or the 9 seed. A lot will have to go right. I do think health, just with COVID. I think if they can maintain their health, if other teams get hit harder than they do, that will benefit the Wolves. But, like, can I sit here and make a strong case that the Wolves are better than Memphis? Heck no. And I get it. It was 2 preseason games, but heck no. John Hollinger on The Athletic, who I love, has the Wolves finishing ahead of the Grizzlies. I don't see that. Like, right now, who can I, feel confident about that the Wolves are better than in the Western Conference? Oklahoma City. And I think Oklahoma City is going to play incredibly hard. But I think Oklahoma City, Sacramento, maybe San Antonio, maybe Phoenix. No, I'm not there in New Orleans, so New Orleans is a no for me. Memphis for sure is a no. Then all the teams that were playoff teams last year, those are no's outside of Oklahoma City. Houston, we wonder what the heck will take place with Houston, but it still might be a little bit. So as long as Harden is in the lineup, I think Houston is better, even with their dysfunction. I think Houston is better than the Wolves. So it's going to be hard to get into the top 10. But that should be the realistic expectation this year. Like, to me, if the Wolves can't capture one of those top 10 seeds, to me, it's a disappointing season.
I want to mock! All right, then I'm going to pull open NBADraft.net and see. We're only 6.5 months away from the next NBA draft, boys. So right now, the Wolves are projected with the number 3 overall pick in the 2021 draft. And according to NBADraft.net, they will draft 19-year-old to be Oklahoma State combo guard Cade Cunningham.
I want to mock!
So in case you're looking for silver linings, here's my question to you, dude.
Sign me up for that, by the way. Cade Cunningham will be the number 1 pick. He is not falling to pick 3. By the way, the Wolves only have their pick if it's in the top 3. So there could be worse situations, right? The Wolves could finish even 10th in the Western Conference and do nothing in the play-in tournament, then they end up losing their first-round pick from the D'Angelo Russell, Andrew Wiggins trade. Or they could finish 11th in the Western Conference, like in the 5th or 6th draft position. They still lose their pick. So there could be worse things than the Wolves ending up at pick 3.
So here's something. I don't think people are really talking a lot about this, just because for a million different reasons. And I will preface this by saying, when it comes to the basketball coaches in this town, I am admittedly biased. I like and get along with Richard Pitino. Used to host a show with him for 4 years. And we've had a ton of conversations about just like his recruiting and different things. So I like Pitino. I get along very well with Ryan Saunders. And I think Ryan Saunders is like 3 or 4 years thrown into the fire too early on this, and he's been navigating it pretty well to this point. So, but it's not about my opinion of these guys. Let's go Ryan Saunders. What do you think the Wolves' opinion of Ryan Saunders is, Gerson's opinion, and how long are they giving him to show, listen, you can mold this ball of clay, but it needs to be molded, and if you can't mold it, someone needs to?
I think they really like that he is the lowest paid coach in the league. Especially after last year when they were still paying Tom Thibodeau $7 or $8 million a year. Yeah. I think they highly respect his work ethic. I will tell you, for whatever it's worth, to a man, talk to any player on background, they will sing his praises. They all adore, they all love Ryan. Now, I've talked about this before. I'll say it again. At some point, Ryan is going to have to coach some of these guys really hard, including Karl-Anthony Towns, including D'Angelo Russell. But I'm just telling you, if you talk to any player, even Jordan McLaughlin, who's not happy right now. If you talk to J-Mac, he will tell you he thinks the world of Ryan. He thinks there's something there schematically, from an X's and O's standpoint. And I think at, 33, 34 years old, I think he will have a long NBA coaching career. Will it be as a head coach or as an assistant coach? But I think he can help out an NBA team for many, many years. They've changed the roster over so much that I'm willing to give him a bit more time. Plus, he defers to Vanterpool, who's going to be a head coach at some point in the near future, David Vanterpool. He defers to David a ton on defense. Like, if you watch a practice, David's the one running the practice. It's not like Ryan's shouting a ton of instruction. David's running their defensive schemes. And if you look at their issues last year, and certainly from Monday and to a degree Saturday, defense was an issue. Now, they were turning the ball over left and right. That didn't help. But they did not play good defense Saturday and Monday against Memphis. That's more Vanterpool, not Saunders, just the way they have things structured. But I think overall, the opinion of Ryan is pretty darn good. He'll do the other stuff too. He'll call season ticket holders who might be on the fence about renewing their tickets. He'll do any corporate event. He'll do anything they ask of him. He does a lot of charitable work behind the scenes that people don't know about. So he's got a heart of gold. I'm just saying, and it might be my bias showing, because like you, Phil, I have a good relationship with Ryan that goes back many years. We have some mutual friends going back to when he was at Wayzata High School many, many years ago. So I'll sit here and defend him to a certain extent. But yeah, the just like the clock is ticking on Cat, the clock's ticking on Ryan Saunders, right? Like, you can't, like last year, what did they have? Multiple double-digit losing streaks? If they have multiple double-digit losing streaks again this season, by all means, I get it. You would have to cut the cord at that point. But I'm willing to give him a little bit more time with this new roster.
So, Duke, you just perfectly summarized to me the Glenn Taylor tenure, at least, let's say the last 15 years, by talking about the fact that, and he's a great guy, I'm not saying he's not, Ryan works cheap. He calls people to try to get them to renew their tickets. He goes and sees sick kids. That's all great. Ultimately, though, that's the Wolves thing. It's like win games. So with that being said, where do things stand with this team being sold? Because I do believe what's going to ratchet the pressure up on a lot of people, including Ryan and Gerson, is a potentially new boss. Where do things stand right now on the sale of the Timberwolves?
An ongoing talking point, Judd, with this segment going back, 6 or 7 months?
Yep.
6 or 7 months ago, I told you guys it was when, not if. I still think it's when, not if. But the when is not necessarily like anytime real soon. So, as I said a few weeks ago, all signs point to Glenn Taylor remaining majority owner heading into the regular season. I think that will be the case. I will tell you that there is a gentleman, not an old gentleman. He's got one heck of a basketball background. I'm not at liberty to share his exact name right this second, but I can tell you he had one of his companies go public very recently, he is worth a ton of money. He has interest. Now, it's not to the point of him talking directly to Glenn yet, but I can tell you this individual has a ton of interest. He would keep the team here in Minnesota. I would not sleep quite yet on Daniel E. Strauss. I'm told the Strauss camp still has some hope, even though I'm told when Strauss came to town a few months ago, he was lawyered up. He had a lot of lawyers, which I get when you're talking about an over $1 billion transaction, but that potentially rubbed Glenn the wrong way. Just they weren't on the same page in that meeting in the same room, even if socially distanced. But I'm just telling you, the Strauss camp still has, even if it's just a tiny bit, still has a little bit of hope. But I don't know if I would bet at this point on Daniel E. Strauss becoming the majority owner. I also, and I brought up these names, I don't know, a week or two ago, and I didn't randomly bring them up. I'll bring them up again. Jason Levian and Steve Kaplan. People will remember those names from 5 years ago. Steve had limited ownership in the Memphis Grizzlies. Jason Levian currently has ownership in DC United, the MLS team, and some other soccer teams. Jason Levian was involved with the Memphis Grizzlies a few years ago. I would just say put it this way, there's been some dialogue. How about that? Now, I don't think anything is to the point of them making a legit offer, them having an exclusive negotiating window or anything like that. There are some whispers about some camp right now, some group having an exclusive negotiating window, but I haven't been able to nail down, A, if that is indeed true, and B, if it is true, who it is. But there is dialogue that's ongoing. So I think it's when, not if, but the when might be more like, the summertime. Maybe it's not, winter or spring. But I do think Glenn at, what is he now, 79 or 80 years old, that he is eventually going to sell. He is not going to be majority owner for a ton longer.
Reckless speculation.
Older gentleman, company that recently went public. I know Airbnb.
No, he's not older. He's a younger guy.
Did he play ball?
If I name him, would
said
you?
That, you would maybe be able to figure. Well, I don't know if you'd be able to figure it out, but you'd be able to limit the options. Let's just say he's got a big time interest in basketball.
If we get this right, just take off your glasses and wipe your brow. Don't say anything. If we're not right, leave the glasses on.
No, I was actually going down maybe a different path. I know that DoorDash just went public, and I have a very, very high interest in that company.
That would mean Phil's buying the Wolves.
I'm a big fan of DoorDash, although how about this story? Literally the first time I used DoorDash, Laura was going to get her eyelashes done or something. This is like 4 or 5 months ago. Woman pulls up. We actually got our place in Dinkytown, the place that's got the great cheesesteak sandwiches and pizza, Frank and Andrea's. So lady pulls up. My neighbor is outside with her golden retriever. Golden retriever. The woman gets out of the car. She is scared bleepless of dogs. Gets out, didn't see the dog. Food flies up in the air. I felt so bad. She was crying. It was such a cluster bleep. And I didn't know what to do. Like, my kids were starving. This was like 8 o'clock on a Friday night. But I felt horrible. Like, she was struggling to speak English.
Pick up the food.
I could just tell, like she needed this job, this money. So it's not like I could throw under the bus. So that was my first DoorDash experience. It ended up working out okay about an hour or two later.
5-second rule, Dukes.
Yeah,
send your kids out, pick it up, eat it. It's fine.
5-second rule. But second time, third time, fourth time, fifth time, DoorDash rule. So yeah, I'm with you, Phil, on that. It's not the owner of DoorDash, though. That I can tell you.
Okay. I was gonna say, like, man, what must it be like if you have, like, Declan's afraid of horses, but it's unlikely.
Terrifying.
It's unlikely he's just gonna like run into a horse walking down the sidewalk, right? But like, if you're afraid of dogs, my God, you must just live paralyzed every single day. If there's gonna be someone walking their golden retriever around the corner.
And I suppose if you're scared of dogs, you really don't have any inkling whatsoever that a golden retriever is like the teddy bear of dogs, like the
you would know that.
People-friendly dog. But if you're already scared of dogs, it probably doesn't matter. But we weren't talking about a pit bull or a German shepherd. We're talking about a purebred.
No, I hope she didn't get eaten.
Golden retriever. Bailey, my neighbor's dog, is the sweetest thing ever. She spent the night here when Paula, my neighbor, has gone out of town on business. This dog is literally the greatest dog ever. Trump's my dog. Greatest dog ever, but I suppose the delivery person had no idea.
You just threw your dog under the bus.
I didn't throw him under the
What's wrong with
bus.
Scooby?
He's a good dog, but he's not
Where's
Bailey.
Scoob?
Who's a good boy?
He's actually
Where's
at the vet
Scoops?
right now.
Oh,
He's
boy.
at the vet. He's getting his yearly checkup. So Laura took him on a walk just now, just to let him go to the bathroom before taking him to the vet. He ended up pooping out a package of macaroni and cheese. So the other day, Laura left the macaroni and cheese on the counter. They were watching a Christmas movie downstairs. She forgot she left it out. He ate the entire box.
Oh, Scoob.
Scooby.
Scooby, no.
We've all been there with mac and cheese, so I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna judge.
Seriously.
Doogie, give us some rapid fire scoops to close here.
So you've got Josh Okogie and Jarrett Culver. It's a formality on both fronts, but both guys, there's a deadline here in the next week or two of the Wolves needing to pick up rookie year options on those guys. The Wolves will pick up the options on those guys. On Jordan McLaughlin, it's a stare down right now. Now, his qualifying offer actually expires today. Not that he was ever going to sign the qualifying offer, but it expires today. So he still remains a restricted free agent. So once it expires today, he's still a restricted free agent. It's a stare down where the Wolves want him back, but they want him back under their terms. He's not willing to take their terms right this second. So the stare off continues. It's just unfortunate, though. Like you think about tonight, no D'Angelo Russell. It sure would be nice if they had Jordan McLaughlin. Even though it's a preseason game, it would be nice to have Jordan McLaughlin in the lineup tonight. So hopefully at some point something gets settled. But at this point, the stare down continues.
Hey, last thing. Is there any chance that even in a pandemic, if things continue to trend as they did for Gopher basketball a couple nights ago, Doogie, that Pitino's job could be in trouble? Because, I mean, that was a rough performance. And I think, is it 7 of their first opponents are ranked in the top 25 Big Ten game-wise?
Yeah, and I will add to what Judd just said. On that NBADraft.net mock draft, the number 1 projected pick is Jalen Suggs.
Yeah, okay.
And I love Jalen.
Jalen
actually built a pretty good relationship up with Pitino, but Jalen Suggs was never, ever going to be a Gopher, as unfortunate as that is. Judd, I see Richard Pitino back for a 9th year. It's hard to believe he's already in year 8. I see him back for year 9. I don't see through this pandemic. This isn't Auburn. This isn't South Carolina. Right. I don't see the U coming up with the money to cut Pitino a check for $1.75 million in March or April to go away. Then on top of that, whether you bring in Dutcher from San Diego State, who, by the way, has a Minnesota out in his contract. So that's what Dutcher thinks of this job, but he's already in his 60s, but he's a really good coach. I could also argue that San Diego State is a better job than Minnesota, but Dutcher has got the family ties here. But if you're bringing in Dutcher, if you're bringing in Eric Musselman or some other coach, you need to pay that coach more than what Pitino makes right now. So where are they coming up with the $3+ million a year to bring in a new coach on a 3, 4, 5 year, probably a 5-year contract, then paying Pitino the big money on the buyout? I just don't see it. But I'm with you, Judd. I mean, me, you, Phil, Declan, and Droogie could shoot better than 27% against the Illini. And Illinois plays good defense, but that shooting display that we saw on Tuesday was disgusting. Gabe Kauscher is mentally broke right now. It's so unfortunate. Really good defender. I still want him on the court. Like, I want him defending, like Desumu, right? Illinois' best player, wing player. I want Gabe always defending the opposition's best shooting guard or even point guard for that matter. So Gabe has value being on the court. But ever since the college three-point line moved back at the start of last year, Gabe's shot is off, and mechanically it looks good. So it's all mental. He even told me that the other day on a Zoom call. He said it's mental. He didn't want to go into great detail, but he said it's mental. But it's just so unfortunate because I really like Gabe as a player. I want him to make shots. Yeah. But yeah, if they shoot like that again, Judd, and I think shooting is a concern. Booth Gotch didn't shoot the ball well last year at Utah. He didn't play well on Tuesday, but he had shot the ball well entering the game on Tuesday. Marcus Carr plays too much hero ball for my liking, but he's a really good player, one of the best in the Big Ten. Liam Robbins has to stay out of foul trouble. If Liam Robbins can play 27 to 31 minutes a game, I think they have a chance to win some games, but you're right. I mean, this stretch that they're on right now, even with St. Louis on Sunday, St. Louis is a top 30 team. That's a really hard game on Sunday night. St. Louis, then they play in no particular order, Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan State, Rutgers, Ohio State. Those are all really hard games. Now, Ohio State lost last night to Purdue, but I don't know how many wins they have in this 7 or 8 game stretch. I mean, hopefully it's at least 2, maybe 3, but like it might only be 1. So at that point, if the Gophers are, let's say in Big Ten play, 0-5, 0-6, 1-5, 1-6, at that point you start wondering, does it completely spiral out of control? But bottom line, I don't see anybody cutting the check for him to go away. So I think Pitino is back next year.
I have actually I realized in these last couple of years, like I used to be so emotionally attached to Gopher basketball. Like Doogie and I both spent 4 years as students at the U of M. I am emotionally
You only spent 4? I spent 6.
Did you?
The St. Cloud plan. Love it. Yeah.
I spent 6 months. So
they got. I mean, they were down by 35 points or whatever it was to Illinois, and I was sitting there like,
no, hold on a second. You turn to The Bachelor. Tell Doogie the truth.
Oh, absolutely.
You just bailed.
All in on the Bachelor. In fact, I am in negotiations.
For the
to
Wolves?
become the co-host of the You Get a Rose Bachelorette podcast in 2021. I just want you guys to know that.
You are
I'm a
spreading
big
yourself
fan of
far
Tayshia.
too
I
thin.
really like Tayshia. She makes for good TV, so I'm right there with you, Phil. It's a guilty pleasure. I love
course
watching
it's
The
going.
Bachelor and Bachelorette. But yeah, I mean,
He has a big
I
big
hear
heart.
you, Phil.
Big heart.
I'm still emotionally attached, and I'm still bugged that when I watch Marquette the other night beat Creighton, that Dawson Garcia of Prior Lake High School and Theo John of Champlain Park High School are playing really well. Watching Wisconsin the last couple games, Brad Davison of Maple Grove has 17 in a win the other night, has 23 in a win about a week ago. Like, he's starting to shoot the ball. I've always been a Brad Davison fan, even with, the antics and the sideshow and his history. And hey, the Big Ten suspended him, rightfully so, for his actions last year. But I still like him as a player. I still think, if you had a chance to have Brad Davison on this team, he would make them better. Then you watch, Jalen Suggs. You watch Matthew Hurt have a really good game last night against Notre Dame. Like, he looked like an NBA first-round pick last night against Notre Dame. So you keep watching all these kids, and I get it. Maybe we shouldn't harp on the negative. Let's harp on the positive, getting Daniel Oturu and Amir Coffey, even if there were interesting circumstances with both landing here. Nonetheless, Pitino got those guys. He got Booth Gotch to come here, even if Booth had a lot of interest in going to Maryland, but wasn't sure if he would get immediate eligibility there. He landed Marcus Carr as a transfer, even though Marcus is not a local guy. That was a really good recruiting get. Landed Liam Robbins. That was a good recruiting get. So maybe we should celebrate the positives, not harp on the negatives. But I'm just telling you, me personally, it's really hard to watch all these national college basketball games and seeing all the local players that I just know that Pitino really never had a great shot at landing.